Tai-no-Henko. The first thing is your center has to be expanding, okay? Expanding, and so that you generate a relationship, not through tension, but through this expansion between your hip corners and your shoulder corners. So you're not doing this, okay? It's expanding, okay? So this is also a martial aspect, okay? If we're fighting, he's gonna hit me, okay? He's gonna hit me in various places. I don't want it to weaken my structure. Just as he goes to hit me, I can move. It looks like I'm out of alignment, but you can push, and you're still locked. You're still locked. You're not doing this, okay? So we'll just test that body. He'll do various strides, fall over, and elbows, whatever. Go ahead. Go ahead. Harder. 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 Okay? Too often you want to do your martial art, but you're not prepared to be hit. Okay? So you always have this spirit of expanding. Okay? You don't have to just aim at the corners here. You can aim at the midsection. Expand. Have like an aura of invincibility. Bigger. Okay, let's go. You feel your mind for a second when you get hit. You're hit. Hit. Watch my face. Hit. Just pulling your mind in, okay? There you go. You see the difference? Okay? Try to. Okay, so both uke and nage have that expansion. So I have that organization, and I do the technique. Boom. I don't lose that organization. Boom. The reason this is training is because you have two stress points. One is here, and the other one is on the turn, which is why you do Tai-no-Henko, okay? So on this part right there, hold your organization on the turn. Hold it on the initial press. So you have two stress points, hence you have two adaptation possibilities. Boom, pop. Boom. Different. Same goes for uke. It's very tempting that when you're uke, you stop training, but that's not the case. You're doing the same drill, but from the yin perspective. So when he has that first stress point, I have to offer the stress point. If I do this, then I'm not offering the stress point and I'm no longer holding the expansion. So my body's pushing. Now here, when he goes, this is where a lot of you break that expansion. He goes, and you're kind of like this. It's broken. Hold it in the kazushi. Boom. It's still locked. Different. Body. Okay. Okay. Remember last night we said that you're not doing self-defense, so this is not a wrist grab attack. This is a training vessel. Okay. But you have to add the simulated aspects of asocial violence. And one of them is commitment. If I don't have, the other one we mentioned last night was territoriality. So if I'm just holding his wrist, I am not at all simulating asocial violence. So you have to have that spinal displacement in your initial attack. In katata dori, okay? So the other one is commitment. So as maybe I start out with territoriality, but I leave my feet here, now I don't have commitment. The way you're going to show your commitment is that your body will move to keep your grip. To keep your grip means your palm stays in that same connected position the entire time. To have not commitment is you don't move your body and you let your grip come off. This is very incorrect. Very incorrect. So I push, and you'll see that I move my body to keep that palm sucked to his wrist, like it has a suction cup. It's not my fingers that are doing it. My body is moving to keep that same exact feeling. So I'll open my hand so you'll see it's not the grip. I move my body to keep that same feeling. Do not decommit, okay? Move your body to keep that connection. There we go. So remember, watching the technique is part of your training. Do you have pure eyes, or is your ego getting in the way? You want to be able to replicate what you're seeing. That's pure eyes, okay? So I'm uke, he goes, boom, look where I stop. I stop when he stops because I'm training from the inside. He's the yang. So I first initiate the technique, and now it's him and I am in a responsive mode. So I end up here. To keep going, do my own thing, you should have just kept going. You're doing your own thing. Okay? Let's go. Okay, he goes, so I have expansion. Remember, that's about my four corners being in an organized state, okay? He's pushing. I have this training aspect. He's working on what I'm working on, so he maintains expansion. He provides territoriality and commitment, noted in the grip. Okay? He keeps expansion through the kazushi. That's where he experiences the yield. So the yield right there. Out of your fear, you'll break it, and you'll want to walk through it. You go here, and then you go here. You broke it. You broke expansion. You'll hear me say you've disengaged your center. Activate your center. So that's what's happening. You're here and you break expansion. Keep expansion and allow yourself to fall into the void. And then at the end is also where you'll see someone break expansion because they'll feel like, oh, I'm done, okay? So I have one stressor point here, I have the other stressor point here, and I'm supposed to maintain expansion throughout the entire technique. So if you have a third uke, he'll come and check on you right here. He's gonna push, you can push both hands over here. Boom. And nothing changes. Meaning, when I go, I'm very relaxed. He comes in, and then I get ready for him. Do you see that? Oh, boom, expansion, boom, here he comes. Nothing changes in my body. Nothing at all, okay? You're still doing the same thing. Boom. Oh, still expansion, still expansion. All right, let's go. In 3. Okay, so continuing on what you're working on in Tai-no-Henko, you're also working on the combative geometry to use Jiu-jitsu. Okay, so somewhere you're going to reconcile an attack with Yin. It'll almost always be on a circle. Then, as you reconcile the Yin with Yin, you'll enter. Then you'll Tenkan. Okay? That'll always happen. So let's say we're fighting, he comes in, that right there, that what I did right here, that's a Yin Reconciliation. He's going to keep entering, right? There's my enter right here. He's going to re-engage, and that's your Tenkan Ibimi. Somewhere, some variation of that will come up. The fight starts to rotate in this moving spiral across the map, okay? So, the first part is the Yin Reconciliation. As he is doing the territoriality, I'm going to shift my weight ever so slightly. I'm not going to turn with double weighted feet. Boom, that was it. That also establishes the ground vector. So he's pushing, and this foot's irrelevant now to his territoriality. Okay? So it starts to lead into the internal training. So boom, single pivot point, start the rotation, enter into the empty space, and then Tenkan. So not turn, yield first, establish the single pivot point, turn, enter on the turn, Tenkan. Yield, turn, enter on the turn, Tenkan. Yield, enter on the turn, single pivot point again, the Tenkan foot goes straight back. It does not draw a circle across the map. Single pivot point, straight back. Single pivot point, straight back. Okay, so let's go back. Let's micro drill the first yield and understand what's going on. Okay, you want to always establish a ground path, and when you rotate, you always have a single pivot point. You never double pivot. Never double pivot. So I know on the Idimi, on the in-train, it's going to be on a turn, so I'm going to have to pivot on that. Okay, so I want a single pivot point, and I want to use my internal aspects, and so I always want a ground vector. Okay, so we're just micro drilling that. I also know I want a yin yield. That's the yin yield. So if he's pushing, I'm not going anywhere because I can establish a ground vector anywhere I am. Okay? I'm yielding out of strategic reasons. Okay? So I'm on the back foot. I have no weight on the front foot, but I have the ground vector. Let him move me onto the back foot. Ground vector, four corner organization, expanding center. Different. You see I'm turning. Different. Different. Boom. He pushes. I move it to the back foot. If you want, you can test. He's pushing. It doesn't matter. Whatever I'm doing with that back foot does not matter. Okay? Let's get that going. Micro drill, go. Okay, your art is made up of energetic things, but it is also made up of mechanical things, okay? So, his first stressor, I have expansion, four corner organization, and I establish a ground vector. Now, mechanically, you want to also understand angle cancellation. So when you do this, you never want his hand to go down. Angle cancellation is best achieved through two zones, through dimensions. So in this case, it's going to be width and height. So I don't want to just go down, that would be height only. I want width and height. This tilt is what we use most of the time in our Aikido. Okay, so we don't want to use just height, we don't do it like this, okay? Always height and width, there's the tilt. It always leads to our kazushi, okay? So this elbow, as I do the Yin Reconciliation following the single ground vector, that elbow goes in and weight is on it. Then I enter on the turn. So never like this. Always in and weight on it and get on. Okay? Next, mechanical reconciliation. I don't want to enter so that I'm on the bottom side of the circle because I'm going to have to pull this thing into position. Of course, if I have good expansion, you can do it. But martially not as sound. Because you're not in what is called the zone of sanctuary. You want to be where he can't hit you, and that is generally behind the shoulder. Okay, minimum. Back, good. Other shoulder, good. Off to the side, not good. So you want to move into the zone of sanctuary, and that's going to require you to be on the top side of the circle. And you will not pull on the grip because you're on the other side of the grip. Boom. get to the top side of the circle, establish single pivot point, and now you don't pull that grip. Boom. I'm on the other side of the circle. Other side of the circle. Different. I'm on the bottom side of the circle. Boom. I'm on the bottom side of the circle. You want to get to the top side of the circle. You should not feel their fingers anymore. You've reconciled the grip. So the question, if you've studied with me for a while, you know we used to talk about extension. And as I watched you try to learn, I started saying not tension, extension, or extension is not tension. Okay, because when you try to hold him at bay, you just think this is extension, but you're flexing everything, okay? And that is not it, okay? That is a fear response, and that is not a yin yielding, and there's no way you can get the internal aspects through that tension, okay? It's also not martial. It's very, very hard to move quickly and responsively when I am very tense, okay? So maybe at first, when you're trying our beginner Kokyu drills, you're like this, do you see? And it'll never translate into any time we have to move past this, okay? And if we're going more live, you will not be able to function at all. It just doesn't function. So I'm definitely not a fan of starting your Kihon Waza in these positions. Do you see how much tension I'm holding in my body, right? So he goes, Tai-no-Henko, right, on your hair. It is very, very stiff. Do you see? This is not what I want. I don't want to live life in a state of tension. Okay? You can do the same things. You go ahead, you push. 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 You can do the same things. Push hard. Get a good base. Use your two hands. Push. 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 Push hard into me. Push hard into me. Push hard into me. There you go. Here we go. Push. Same thing. Very relaxed. Very relaxed. Push. Push. Push hard. Push. Very relaxed. It can be done, but it's not as easy. Okay? We understand tension because it's from our ego tripartite. I will out-muscle you. I will out-power you. Do you see? We understand that. Our ego understands that. I understand that. We don't understand this other thing, what the art is actually trying to teach you. Okay? So it's always very interesting, perplexing, amazing, flabbergasting that we're told in the art, relax, relax, but everybody is very stiff, very, very stiff. Especially when you contrast it with other arts that don't make such claims about relaxing. You see? BJJ, way more, those people are way more relaxed than these other Aikido people.
Boxers, same thing. Very relaxed as they're moving. They'll never start the fight like that, you see. Or comparatively, you have Sistema will put most of Aikido people to shame when it comes to relaxing. Okay? So it's very, very perplexing. So today is a noticeable shift in nomenclature, because I'm watching as I'm instructing that extension is not quite it either. Tension's not it, but extension is not it either, primarily because it's so easy to confuse extension with tension. But also because extension is structural integrity along a single vector, and that's not it either. That's what lends itself to tension. Expansion is on all vectors, do you see? Not just the one in front of you. All vectors are doing it, okay? Also, that's more in line with what's actually happening to you, okay? So, if we go to ancient body wisdom, old body wisdom, which Japanese martial arts have a historical connection with, okay? They're not going to invent a Japanese martial art that is not grounded in this more ancient Asian body wisdom, okay? It's not that strange a concept, and I think we'd be foolish to believe otherwise, but our Americanist, scientific understanding of our body is not in alignment with this ancient wisdom. But our intuitive, common sense experience of our body should still keep this making sense, all right? And it is this. Any emotion that you have, any kind of thought, anything in your mind happens, it manifests in yourself physically. Okay, so the easy one, for example, is when you are afraid or tense. Let's say you have a lot of stress at work. Okay, you have a lot of stress at work. We all think that stress is just a mental thing, right? And we look deeper, and you'll see that somebody will come and rub your shoulders and go, "Whoa, that you got a knot there." Like, if it was purely ideational, why is it showing up in a physical muscle knot, as we would call it? You see? Because there is a connection between my ideational self and my physical self. It shows up in my body. However, you ever go to the doctor, let's say you have an abdominal issue of some kind of digestive problem, all right? And the doctor will ask you about your life, and they go, "Oh, you have stress," and you always feel ashamed, a little embarrassed, or even like the doctor's not believing you that you have some physical thing, right? They might go, "Oh, it's a stress response." No, I'm not making this up. I really can feel something. Yes. The ancient body wisdom would go, "Of course," all right? In this ancient body wisdom, they categorize certain feelings with certain parts of your body. Desires, dissatisfaction, which precedes desire, these two things are located in the lower pelvic region. Fear is located in the navel region, all right? So when you go to do your martial art, because the way Budo trains you through fear, through a reconciliation of the ego tripartite by reconciling fear, pride, and ignorance, things like desire to not lose, to fail, to stay safe, and fear to not get injured, is all in the midsection. So you always collapse the midsection. before you even know it. Okay? So he comes in, we're doing our drill, and I know that I have to go here, you see? Now I have a desire. Sensei said to go there, I have a desire, and I desire not to do this, you see? And already that thing has weakened. You don't realize it, but you already weakened it, okay? So I have to be desireless so I can get here. I don't have any fear because I don't have a dichotomy between him and I. So it's not Nage versus Uke. That's not what's going on. I'm already in an expanded state, and you'll just land there without that tension, or the opposite, which is the need for tension, let's say, as you're experiencing it subjectively, meaning you're, that wasn't it either, okay? So, expansion, 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 expansion. Non-contestation means unification between Uke and Nage. It means no difference between Uke and Nage. No difference between moving and not moving either. Once I get all those things around, I can truly have expansion and therefore have relaxed movement with the structural integrity of expansion versus a structural integrity only through tension. Okay? Do you understand? All right. So I can't truly do the art until I get to this, what we moderns would call emotional reconciliation, or this ideational reconciliation, but which the pre-moderns would say, dude, your body-mind is intimately connected. You're going to have ideas that manifest in the body. You can move the body to manifest different ideas in your mind. It goes both ways, okay? That is what makes training in a martial art a viable system of transubstantiation, which is what we actually do, versus transformation. We're going to actually change the very substance of our being.